Hi, this is Trevor,
and this is Paul,
and you are listening to the May Contain Action podcast,
available on Apple, Spotify, and more. So, Tim, what did you do? So you kind of mentioned you were looking for employment at Taco Bell, and you went to school, you went to college, which a lot of people wouldn't anticipate. What did you do before streaming? Like, what was your job? What did you do? What did you want to do before streaming?
So like before streaming, so way back, I always kind of wanted to work with like kids. And originally, I grew up in the church, so I thought I was going to be a youth pastor. I thought that'd be a pretty cool job, and like that'd be something I'd be good at. The older I got, the less that desire became, and I still wanted to work with kids and help kids. So I ended up going into like halfway house, which for those of you that don't know is like a typically at-risk youth. And so I was working in a halfway house, and I was a supervisor there.
How old were you?
So
you were working there?
Oh gosh. How long ago is this, bro?
I mean, you can answer it.
I was 20. I just got done 22, 23 maybe. Probably 23. So I started there. I didn't start as a supervisor, obviously. I started there, and I was like one of the employees, and then they promoted me in a couple months.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool job. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was cool. Hard, definitely very hard and mentally taxing for a lot of things, but it was a really good, I enjoyed the job. And looking back, I was glad that I got to do that. I did that for like a year and a half, I'd say, in total. And then eventually I was doing the streaming thing on the side, and eventually I was like earning more on the side than I was working. I think I was working like 45 to 50 hours a week. So I was like streaming at this time. I had like no obligations, by the way. Like I was like young. I was streaming for like 25 to 30 hours a week on the side. No, probably like 20 to 25 hours realistically on the side. Yeah. And then I was working for like literally 45 to 50 hours, and that was it. And so eventually I was earning more on the side than I was at my full-time job, and I was like, oh well, maybe I should try this out. I mean, shoot, why not? It'd be a dream come true.
Yeah.
So then I took the leap to go full-time, and here we are. How many years later? 8?
Yeah.
6 years? How long have I been full-time?
Well, yeah.
I think
6 years at least.
I think 6 years at least. Yeah. So it's been a while. Been here for a while now. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And you, when you were working at your halfway house, right? And streaming, I feel like I often would see you because I had like a 9 to 5 and I'd pop in or whatever.
Yeah.
First of all, actually, I feel like I didn't see you.
Yeah.
You were either working or streaming, and that was it.
Yeah. So I definitely, like, I would say
you grinded.
I grinded. Yeah. So like our friend group, who we still do hang out with to this day, they didn't see me as much as they used to when I was streaming a lot, because I thought it was something I enjoyed doing so much. But like you guys would go out like on a Friday night and you'd be like, yo, do you want to like come over? And I'm like, nah, I'm going to stream. So like I kind of, ditched a little bit to be, I mean, not completely. I would go to things every once in a while, but like I really, really, really focused on streaming a lot. And I would just be like, nah, I'm going to stream. And it was definitely a sacrifice there in the sense of like time with friends. I didn't spend as much.
Oh, sure.
As I used to when I was grinding a lot.
Like, we didn't realize the potential that streaming could have at the time. No. So we were like, I mean,
and neither. I mean, I don't know if I really realized what it was going to turn into. I thought it would be something cool that I could do full time. It was a hobby that turned into a profession, which would be awesome. And I didn't really realize where the gaming industry was going to go as a whole. So that kind of blew my mind, obviously. But like to see, I'd be like to my friends, be like, no, I'm not going to come out on a Friday. I'm just going to stream. So they'd be like, why is he even doing that? He's not even earning anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even making money. Why are you doing? And the reality was, it was just a hobby. It was something fun. I enjoyed streaming, and I still do enjoy streaming, but it was like a back and forth with viewers, the banter. You can make jokes with people. It's like you're hanging, and I've always enjoyed people. So it's like you're hanging out with people and also playing video games at the same time. So it was kind of a cool little mix there.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious that you're pretty natural
in terms of, entertaining. And
Thanks.
And I mean, I think that just goes to show you. I think this is important. Sometimes I get a little serious here on the pod. You just said that like you were working full time and then you were just like grinding the other time, and you just said, "This is what I want to do," so you did it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about like, it's not just about like making an account and now suddenly everyone's going to watch you. Like you gotta constantly get better. And
yeah, man. One of the things is too, like a lot of people ask me, like now they're like, how do you start your stream? How do you get off the ground? What do you do to become a streamer? And I tell them straight up, I'm like, listen, when I was really grinding, like viewership has changed, right?
Yeah, dramatically.
So back in the day, when I was quote unquote grinding, there were streams with like, I specifically remember people like Soda Poppin' back in the day. He would have like 1,000 to 2,000, and that was like, dude, there's a ton of people in here. Like, I can't believe 1,000 people are watching. Yeah. And then you got like Father Son Gaming. So I played a lot of Call of Duty. So I don't know if anyone even remembers Father Son Gaming in chat and stuff. FSG, they were awesome. Dude. I used to watch them all the time, FSG. And so it was like the name sounded, a father and a son. And I would watch them all the time. And they had probably 1,000 to 2,000 viewers. I think they still stream to this day.
I think they do as well.
But I specifically remember watching them a lot. Way back in the day. And back then they had 500 to 1,000 viewers. And I was like, dude, this is incredible. And so the numbers back then are so different than now. Now I'll have, I mean, the other day I was streaming, I had a guy come in, I had 13,000 viewers. And he came in and he goes, Tim, what happened? You really fell off.
Cool, dude. First of all, cool, dude. Cool.
You only got 13K. You really fell off. And I'm thinking back in the day, I used to watch and people had 500 and I thought it was a lot. So like for me, I'm like, dude, I mean, there's like a ton of people here. What are you talking about? And, but it was kind of one of those things where it was like, I really, I consider myself very fortunate and very lucky because back then when I was grinding a lot, you'd have like someone with 1,000 viewers and then maybe 500, 400, 300, 100, 70, 60, 50, and you don't even need to scroll. Like, you know how on Twitch now you're like scrolling, like you're scrolling a lot and you can scroll. Dude, I can probably scroll on Twitch right now. I could probably like pull up Fortnite and scroll 5 times and still see 1,000 viewers. And back then you would see like 1, 2 viewers. So like back then, like getting noticed was a lot easier to get recognized kind of at the forefront of it. And so like, I definitely consider myself super lucky in that regard, but it's hard for me to give advice because I'm like, I mean, I can tell really high. It's not the same like beast that we're dealing with anymore. Like back then it was completely different, like in the sense of viewership.
When you Twitch play with other people was like sorry Trevor, I'm going to talk now. You want to play with other people, it was like a collaboration was not as much of a thing. Like you wouldn't really collaborate necessarily with other streamers because you like wanted to hold on to what you had and you didn't want to like lose your viewership to someone else. Now it's like people collaborate a lot more.
I think my internet just went.
Your whole internet? No way.
Okay, wait. Okay, that was really weird. All I heard was you wouldn't really collaborate with other streamers, and then it like, I couldn't hear anything, and I looked over. Okay, okay, go again. You didn't really hear.
Go again.
Go again. Go again. Sorry, you said you didn't really collaborate with other streamers.
Back then, I'm saying in general, not you specifically, but people in general, collaboration wasn't as much of a thing. So I remember you collaborating with other streamers, people you would play with, other Call of Duty streamers, and that was like kind of like very like brand new.
Yeah, I don't even think it was considered collabing. It was just kind of like everyone was just kind of hanging out. I don't know back then.
True.
Hey, you literally found friends.
Yeah, it wasn't
on the platform.
Now it's like really, really, really. I don't know what the word I'd use is. Like, I don't think people like obviously I have a friend group I play with. But I think like some people, like even in a smaller context, like some people with like X amount of viewers, and like if someone has less viewers and they're trying to play with them, they think it's like leeching or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, that's something where it's like completely. I mean, years ago it wasn't really a thing as much. Now, I feel like it's really prominent and like and prominent in the sense of people like always think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just. I feel like that's just that's just reality. Like there's a lot of people watching Twitch, and there's a lot of streamers. Like when people play together, they're going to find something else they maybe like a little prefer, like a little bit more, and they're going to go somewhere else and they're going to stay. And it's not like people aren't purposely doing it. But you're also like, you can't ignore that is helpful for smaller streamers. Like you just can't ignore that. Like it's just facts. And but I'm over here preaching and I get it all the time. So anyway,
well, it's like too. I don't think it's like an end all. Like I think people think like in their head, oh, if I could get into a game with Ninja, then my stream's gonna take off. That's it right there. And to an extent, that helps some. But the reality is, and I've said this before, like if viewers are not necessarily being entertained, they're not gonna watch, right? So it's like, so even if you get to play with Ninja or with someone, and then you get exposure, but if people don't want to watch, they just don't want to watch. Like I think people think, oh, if only I could get a host from so and so, then I'm gonna make it. And the reality is, a host will help. Absolutely,
it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity, correct? But is that the end all? Absolutely not. No, it's not.
As you said that, I look over, which I don't often read my chat during these podcasts, but I just happened to look over, and someone literally requested, "Can you host me after you're done?"
Nice, yeah, right.
Wow, nice.
And then people, it's like I don't know. People just think, oh, if only so and so hosts me, then But the reality is, like, even if people host you, like, it's not necessarily an end all. An example I would use is back in the day, soda popping, so there was no hosting back in my day on Twitch. It was just kind of like people would shout out. And so randomly one day, I can't even, I think it was Nick, who's Soda's friend, obviously. Soda's like roommate and buddy. So Nick and Soda are both still good friends to this day. But Nick, I think, linked my stream and Soda's chat, and like 500 people came over to my chat, which once again, back in the day, this is like, what is happening?
500.
Right? So in the moment, I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of like locked up. I like froze up. I was like, and the reality is, before that happened, I think I had like 20 viewers. And then after that happened, an hour later, I had 23 viewers. Yeah. Even after the submerge of 500. Right. Yeah. So it's like you get 500 viewers. I just kind of was like, and nothing. I don't know. I just kind of did my thing. And then everyone's like, wow, this is boring. And then they left. Right. And ultimately, did that from Soda apps help? I would say absolutely. I mean, it got me exposure, but I only retained realistically +3 if you think about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that a lot of people think like, oh, if only I could get hosted, that'll be the break I need. But
you really can't rely on that.
You can't rely on it. I mean, I'll get you with a baseballism right now. You know what? Success equals opportunity plus preparation. So the more you are, like, you create great content and then you get hosted, and then later you get hosted again and you're still making great content, more and more people will stay. But it just takes a long time. And it's only going to take longer and longer because the number of people that are on the platform. That's just how it is. It's just like Twitter. Like I have 86,000 or 87,000 on Twitter now. That used to be so many on Twitter in 2009.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's just like, okay, that's a good amount, but it's not crazy. And because there's way more people on Twitter. That's just the way it is. But that doesn't mean you can't be a content creator. It just means that you have to be constantly evolving and constantly trying new things and constantly putting stuff out there and doing it. You have to do it and do it and do it. And
go ahead. I don't want to
go ahead.
Well, just the reality is too, like, I think, like, ultimately there's a lot of streamers now. There's a lot of people interested in the space and trying to get in. And so there's a lot of people that are just like, kind of like, I don't really do anything. That's what I say. I just kind of play, right? I just sit and play. And I always say, a lot of people come in like, wow, why does this guy have viewers? And I'm like, true. I mean, good question, because I'm not really doing anything special necessarily. And so my point is, like, there's a lot of people doing that. So, like, when you can do something a little more unique or dynamic, I think that attracts people. Someone like Doc, he has all of his green screens and stuff like that, right? He does that, dude. I can only imagine, like, Doc's effort into his stream.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can think of a streamer that does like as much prep and work as Doc.
Exactly,
because that is like like he is fully immersed in his like character, and he'll have different green screens, and he's like getting up and walking around and doing all this funny stuff, right? Like there's a ton that goes into that. Meanwhile, I just start stream and just sit here, you know?
Yours is natural. Like you're just natural. To be honest, it's just kind of like it's who you are. You've been doing it for a really long time.
Right.
And there's Doc, and the guy I use the example is Carnage. He runs his thing like a business. He's got his overlay is different for every game he plays.
Yeah,
he's a new overlay.
Different emotes for every game. Like,
for every game.
That Co? That's Co, right? Yeah.
Yes. You know how much planning that takes?
Right.
So much.
I've had the same emotes for 7 years.
Seriously.
Yeah,
there you go. And so does similar. Soda just pops off 25,000 people, no matter what.
And the reality is, it's like a lot of people just put a lot. Like some people put a ton of effort in, and some people have a little more unique style and things. And I still remember the very first time I watched Future Man Gaming. I was like, what am I looking at? Because he had his whole green screen thing going on, and he was like doing these trippy things, and I was like, bro, what is happening? This is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And so I watched, Future for a long time too, in the sense, and he was another guy that kind of had this more unique thing, I guess you can say, kind of Doc-esque, but not completely like Doc, obviously.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's all about finding that.
The reality is that if you don't have something, in whether that's you're really funny or like extremely funny or you're extremely good, or the reality is if people are if people are entertained, they'll stick around.
It's
the reality of it.
You don't have, and I mean, I guess kind of speaking, I guess for myself a little bit as well, just because you don't have a X amount of viewers, right, or X amount of followers or things like that doesn't mean that you are a bad streamer or a bad content creator. That those things don't equal each other. How many books or like movies like come back around and like, oh, this movie's great, and like that movie came out a decade ago. Like, what do you mean? Like that's been out forever. Like, oh, I'm just discovering it now. Like people just discover things like later on. So just to encourage anyone that doesn't have that viewership or followership.
No, completely agreed. And I think like I hate viewer count. I majority, I would say 80% of the time I'm streaming, I don't have my viewer count up. I don't have mine up just because I know that. Because the reality is, if view count is I hate it because it's it can be so controlling and can really mentally bring you down. But it's like, as someone that's a larger streamer now, that doesn't like, I would say everything still is kind of the same. There's just like percentages. Yeah. So like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. So like back in the day, I had 50 viewers, right? And then one day I would turn the stream on and I'd have 10. Right. And I lost 40 viewers. I don't know what percent that is. I'm not going to try and do the math off the top of my head. But now there'll be days where I'll have 30,000. And then the next day I'll have 7,000. And like percentage wise, I'm still losing like what, 30, 40% of my viewership, 80. I can't do the math, dude. I don't know, bro. But like a lot. So like it's still there. It's just the numbers bigger, right? So I'm still losing. There's still days where I won't have near as many viewers as some days that I don't know. It's just hard, because I think people think like, oh, if only I could get a couple thousand. But like reality is the mental game is still there. Because
it never goes away.
No, like because it's just scaled higher. You have more viewers and less viewers at times.
Exactly. I mean, you hear YouTubers say it all the time. They're constantly looking at their sub counts. Like it just doesn't go away. Being a content creator is 24/7 all the time. You can imagine what it's like to be like, hey, I'm gonna go take 3 days off and go to the, relax, and you can't, because everything you look at, you're like, should I record this? Should I post this on whatever? Like, I had the same. I went to Hawaii, and even I was like, I haven't posted on Instagram in 4 days. And I couldn't relax. It was crazy.